Greetings.
Greetings.
First, before I begin, usually I do an invocation, call on the Most High, so I'll be singing in our language, which is Yamasuk. And the language would be like this. Timtata, which means the all. Abdurukul Shah Yuat Biwa Samos Shilpa Timtata. Begin all things by first using the all. And realizing that everybody has various different languages, you could also translate that into your mother tongue and say the same thing, invoking the all. I usually like to do this to imply that we want to bring forth our ancestors, each one of us that's connected to our ancestors. So as we're making this presentation, this is something of would be considered a paradigm for some people based on the fact we're speaking English, and the problem with English is there's a lot of misspeak and doublespeak. So what I want to do is just give a quick background of myself. I'm chief of the Atsikhataym Nation of Yamasee. We're internationally recognized by the United Nations, as well as the United States and Canada, as an Indigenous peoples organization. I have done interventions at the United Nations in 2005 and 2006. I've done UPR reports, which are known as Universal Periodic Review Reports, against Canada as well as the United States, and regarding how they are implementing the United Nations United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, as well as human rights as they relate to Indigenous peoples. That is not a term that we cannot say we're not entitled to. One of the things that I had pointed out in 2005 when I was at the United Nations is the fact that every other quote-unquote race acknowledges they come from Africa. And the biggest issue is when it pertains to us, we don't get the respect regardless of which country we're from. We're all branded in the same barrel. Meanwhile, everybody is imitating us. They will go into Vodun, they will go into Yoruba, they will go into Egypt, and they imitate and emulate us. Yet we don't get that proper respect. So one of the things that I found out during the years that we've been doing research, and again, we do a lot of advocating for Indigenous people's rights. And when we say Indigenous, we're talking about melaninites. So it doesn't make a difference whether you're from Ghana, you're from Trinidad, whether you're from Jamaica, whether you are from Egypt, whether you're from Nigeria. The point of the matter here is it's a commercial world that we're living in, and they're using a different terminology. So we have to become knowledgeable of the terminology being used that is used to brand us in a particular way. I just have a little write-up here, and these are things I wanted to cover tonight. And I give gratitude and appreciation to Sangay for allowing us to, and for allowing me to come. Appreciate that, sister, for allowing us to speak. This is something you can find online. I do have some handouts, so I will be passing them out afterwards so people can read them on their own, because there's web links to them. Now, one of the biggest problems that we have in English is we're using a syntax, an incorrect syntax, which is a way of saying a word, but it has a different meaning. And so what we think we're using in English is not exactly what it originally meant. So its origin has changed over time. So when we want to get back to the source of the problems that we all have in our lives, especially when you have dark skin, a lot of it ties into language use, otherwise known as syntax. So this is from the online etymology dictionary. You can get this on the internet, and like I said, I've got copies of this that I'll be handing out. Now, etymology, this is facts of the origin and development of a word. It's from late 14th century. From Old French, etymology, from Latin, etymologia, from Greek, etymologia, an analysis of a word to find its true origin properly. Study of the true sense of a word, with logia, study of, speaking of, and the etymon, true sense. Neuter of etymos, true, real, actual, and related to etios, true, which perhaps is cognate with Sanskrit, satya, or Gothic is sunjas, and Old English is sod, meaning true. Now, the definition of syntax, it's classified as a noun from the 1600s, and it's from the French syntaxe, which in the 16th century, and directly from late Latin syntaxis, from Greek syntaxis, a putting together or in order, arrangement, a grammatical construction, from stem of syntaxisin, put in order, from syn, together, tassin, arrange, see tactics. Now, when I was asked to speak here, Sangay had told me to bring up the subject of beads and one of the central features of beadwork. And what's interesting is when I went on the online etymology, the definition in English based on the online etymology is not what we think it is, just furniture or jewelry. Bead is a verb from the 1570s. And it means to adorn with beads, from bead, the noun, meaning to string like beads, from 1883, related to beading and beating, or beaded. Now that's bead as the verb. Bead as the noun means prayer bead. And this is from the mid-14th century. From Old English, gebed, which means prayer, with intensive or collective prefix, Proto-Germanic bidam, entreaty. The cognates is from Middle Dutch, bead, from Old High German, beta, German bit, Gothic bida, prayer request, from PIE, which is past intermediate English, which means to ask or to pray. So I found that very interesting. When we're wearing beads, that means we are actually saying we are sending a prayer, or or wearing beads, we are wearing a prayer. Beadsman is one who prays for another's benefit, which I thought was interesting. So this leads into the next subject. The problem that a lot of us are having is we are taking on a word that somebody else's projection of us. So one of the things that I also found out in the research, and you'll have it in the handout for those that's interested, we keep calling ourselves in English black, forgetting that in law, black has no standing. So we're not entitled to human rights, civil rights, or any other kind of rights. Everybody sitting in here who may be coming, their lineages from different countries, you do not refer to yourself in your mother tongue or your language as black. You will refer to yourself as either a clan, a tribe, or a village. So when we use the word black in our daily lives, interfacing with this system, what we are doing is we are sending out a negative energy and a frequency, because our ancestors never referred to themselves as black. We called ourselves Igbo, we called ourselves Garifuna, we called ourselves Yamasi, etc. And that's one of the problems that we're facing, is when we start saying black, that is a negative energy that we are sending out and putting into ourselves. Keep in mind, we never gave ourselves that term. That was given to us by so-called white people. So now, here's the definition of black as according to the online etymology. Black, Old English, dark, from Proto-Germanic, black is burned. Old High German, bla, black, Swedish, black ink. Dutch, blacken, to burn. To burn, gleam, shine, flash. Cognates are Greek, flaggering, to burn or scorch. Latin, flagare, to blaze, glow, burn. From the root bell, meaning to shine, to flash, to the burn. Or see the verb bleach. The same root produced in Old English black, and that's spelled B-L-A-C, means bright, shining, glittering, pale. Now that's totally different from what we would think it means, or what we've been told that it means. And when you look at the etymology, that's totally opposite. That's on the other side of the spectrum. The connecting notion being perhaps fire, bright, and burned, dark. The Old English word for black was swert. According to Old English diction, in Middle English, it is often doubtful whether black, spelled B-L-A-C, B-L-A-K-E means dark, black, or pale, colorless, wan, livid. Used of dark-skinned people in Old English. Now this is the adjective for the word black. Now when you look at the word black as a verb, that's from the 1200th century, which means to become black. To make black, darken from black adjective. Black, Old English, the color black, also ink, from noun use of black adjective. From the late 14th century as the dark spot in the pupil of the eye. The meaning black person, African, is from 1620. So prior to that, black did not mean dark skin, it meant to shine, to pale, to bleach. And perhaps late 13th century. And black or Moor, which is what the English would call anyone from Africa, whether they were from Tunisia or South Africa, they would call them a Moor. Black or Moor is from the 1540s. To be in the black in 1922 is from the accounting practice of recording credits and balances in black ink. So in accounting terminology, when you're in the black, you are a profitable business. When you are in the red, you are in debt. So it's very interesting, the use and the interchange of the words. So what I want to also bring up is, now the definition of white is interesting. Comes from the Old English wit, whiteness, white food, white of an egg, from white. And it's a highly luminous color devoid of chroma, meaning white part of the eyeball. It's from the 1400s. So the meaning of white man, person of a race distinguished by light complexion, is from the 1670s. And white man in this sense is from 1690s. White man's burden is from Rudyard Kipling's poem of 1899. So now, the definition of white as an adjective comes from the Old English wit, bright, radiant, clear, fair, also as a noun. And what it means is, it's a cognate of Old Saxon, Old Frisian, wit, meaning to white, to shine. So, to shine, or svetu, light, to shine, savati, to brighten. So, black, being that it has no standing at law in English, you're not entitled to any rights. So therefore, well, how do we deal with this? Well, the answer is quite simple. There's a document put out by the United States Department, it's called the Office of Management and Budget. And before I get to that, I'd like to read one thing here so everybody knows. Who here is familiar with Glenn Beck, who used to be on CNN? Okay. Now, Glenn Beck has a video on YouTube, and he states, African American is a bogus term, not a race. It's a bogus made-up term, it's not a race by law or by definition. And if you get a Black's Law Dictionary, you can't find a definition of black in Black's Law Dictionary. Kind of ironic. So now, this is the form called the Race and Ethnicity. This is put out by the U.S. Office of Management and Budget. Now, you might say, well, we're in Canada, what does that have to do with anything? Well, for those of you that want the information packet, Canada is registered in Washington, D.C. as a corporation. It's also registered on the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. So is the government of South Africa, the government of Australia. It's all business. This is all commerce. So according to the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, under Standard Form 181, their definition of white is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. Their definition of black or African American is a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. And as we all know, there are no black racial groups of Africa. You're either from a tribe, a clan, a village. So now the question is, why would the US government say that people who are white are having origins in the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa? because we were in Europe. The Moors, you can go look anything up on the Moors, St. George, the Knights of the Round Table, those were all us. Middle East, of course, definitely us, is way too hot. And North Africa, of course, that's a given. Now, keep in mind, they used to, on the old English maps, used to list the entire continent as Africa and call it the Sudan. So this is not to insult anybody, but if you check the old English maps, and some of them, they even had the whole continent listed as Ethiopia. So the reason why I'm stating that is the U.S. Department of Education has a document, Integrated Post-Secondary Education Data System, which has these same definitions on it. So what we've been telling people who are trying to realize, well, why is it they're having problems in their lives, we've told them they've had to fax that form in, and for those going to college and university, they're actually submitting that to the registrar. And so, yes, they do this, and we have it on Facebook, so you can go to SF181 Race and Ethnicity page, and you can see other people who have done it. I've done it from here, faxed it, and said CC the Canadian consulate in Washington, D.C. Being that Barack Obama went on the Tom Joyner morning show and said black has no standing at law, and he does not consider himself black, that means automatically you're supposed to drop that terminology. That's the best he could do for you all, because he's taking orders. He didn't get in that position on his charm. We all know that. So there are many other definitions of race and ethnicity categories which are now being adopted by other universities. And one of the other things is, in the handout for those that want it, there will be the U.S. Department of Education. Now, since 1997, they have reorganized and redone race and ethnicity. It's not about skin color. It's about commerce. What status are you in? If you are black or call yourself black, you have no standing at law. And for everybody who might not be familiar, make it a point to read up on the United Nations Charter. We are also in the International Decade for People of African Descent. This is passed by the United Nations. And they have a program of activities. This is for 10 years. This goes from this year up until 2025. The program of activities, and it's for the implementation of the International Decade for People of African Descent. And the theme is recognition, justice, and development. One of the things that needs to be acknowledged is, I just want to read this real quick. Under the section pertaining to recognition, the states, meaning all the countries, agree that they should provide effective protection for people of African descent and review and repeal all laws that have a discriminatory effect on people of African descent facing multiple, aggravated, or intersecting forms of discrimination. So if you call yourself black, you're not entitled to the UN Charter, you're not entitled to international law or protections. When you start claiming your indigenous standing, regardless of what tribe, what clan, what village you are from, now that puts you into international protection and you're entitled to that, being that they acknowledge of the legacy of slavery. The other thing pertaining to law, which I want to read, this is under access to justice. So now they're stating that they have to ensure there's equality before the law. You cannot get that with the term black. Black, again, has no standing at law. It's not about skin color. It has everything to do with commerce. Case in point, Rachel Dolezal, everyone's familiar with her from the NAACP, who said she's a black woman, right? Now, I've read the definition, and it means to shine. So therefore, or to make pale, or if you look the reference, the word bleach. So technically, in that definition, yes, but that wouldn't even qualify her as well because of the fact that her lineage, the original Europeans are us. The English, Irish, French, German, Spanish, Scottish. When you look at all the coat of arms, you'll see our faces in the profile on their coins. So it's very much a word game, and if you want to talk about tactics, you have to start using the correct terminology that puts you into getting what you're entitled to. As far as reparations is concerned, you won't get it calling yourself black. So that's why I refer to myself as a white, based on the definition of the Standard Form 181. Reason being, it is put out by the US. Canada is a part of the United States. I have all that information there. They've already given up their sovereignty to the United States February 2nd, 2011. So eventually they're going to start moving the borders between the US and Canada and the US and Mexico, and they will erase those, and they will put this Canada border and the US Border Patrol, they will put them in the circumference. And any who's from Toronto or out east? You guys from Toronto or out east? Okay, and they've already made a deal where they're going to allow now US in the train stations with arms. You heard about that? Okay, so that's goes back to the Security and Prosperity Partnership. So with things changing in the future, you have to use the correct syntax, the proper language to give you what you are entitled to. It's not about skin color, your dermis or your melanin is so far as, well, this is white and I'm black. No. What can we say? There's people here, your hair is black, your skin is brown. Some of you are dark. Now the ones who are dark purple, that's them from back home. But that's still, the point of the matter here is they've changed everything into business. So as long as you continue to keep using that word black, you will continually catch hell. The instant you start saying you're white, not about skin, about business, then don't think the Europeans, so-called Europeans, they're not going to question you on it. They won't say anything. I say white power, they won't say anything. Because it's a secret, it's a key that they know hidden amongst them. We reveal it, the US Department says this is the definition of white. And since Canada has free trade agreements with the US, that entitles you all not only to use that, but also to gain access to international law and the entitlements that you're entitled to as Indigenous people. You are the Indigenous people on the planet. You are entitled to the same thing the First Nations are entitled to. The only difference though is they wouldn't be considered, they call themselves Indian, but the real Indians are you sitting in the chairs. Not the word Indian, but the real Indigenous. Check out a book by Dr. David Imhotep, The First Americans Were Africans. We were all over the planet. So with that, I just want to give everybody much appreciation for letting me speak. And for those that's interested, I have some handouts that you all can look into. Much appreciated. Hotep.
White power.
White power.
White power. White power.
Just before I go, I am on Facebook. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on all of that, so you can just type me in and find me. Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you very much, Chief. I can't pronounce the other name, sorry. Come on, we can do better than that. We need a stand ovation. Come on, guys. Thank you very much. Now the moment we've all been waiting for. So the models are gonna come out. They're gonna model the Zulu necklace. Sorry guys, we have a little technical difficulty here. Sorry. Please be patient with us. Okay, so guys, there've been some changes. So Uptown Boys are next on stage. So please, let's give them a hand of applause, please. Uptown Boys, come on stage all the way from LIB.
How you doing?
All right.
My name is Tyrese. I'm Darius. We are young upcoming artists. Poetry, rap, everything, into it. So right now, we're having a little bit of problems, so I'm gonna just spit it a cappella. I was raised in the place every day. You had to grind hard just to get it. I can't believe I made it. I had to work hard just to get it. Man, my life is a paradise, cause I'm focused on the big prize. Put my country on the map, LIB, that's where I'm at. Born and raised, new in this game, but I'm eating like a dinner plate. Everybody know I'm sick. Every time I touch the mic, they know I be killing it, a ludicrous. I ain't never losing it. I said, I was raised by a single mother. No father in the home, so I had to grind harder. The struggle taught me how to think smarter. I was focused on the big picture. Everywhere I go, I had to grind harder. My mother told me, you gotta go to school, get your education. But I'd rather make fast cash. Squeeze, I ain't gonna say that, I'ma keep it PG. Cause right now, this is African night. Yo. So listen. If you don't know me, they call me Greasy. Flow so nice and breezy. Flow so nice and breezy. Every time I touch the mic, I shine so bright like dynamite. Everybody know my flow's tight. Every time, your nigga. You kidding?
That was nice, My name is Young Bash. I've been rapping for like 2 years now. And my rapping name is Young Bash. I'm a young hard nigga named Bash now. Grind hard, staying folks spending cash now. A lot of niggas in my hood with no good now. I'm a type of nigga straight to the fact, yeah. With no bullshit, I'm heading to the top, yeah. Shut it so down, Bash from the back, yeah. Show suck, she'll suck me off for a bill, yeah. In my block, we call making mills, yeah. Tell a goof nigga don't get close, yeah. Jazz ready with the bullet, he gon' shoot now, pop. Playing no games with no lames, yeah. Her ass so fast, she got a twerk now. In the club, everybody watch her head now. Smoke a lot, my bros getting high now. I rap hard, kill a beat, cause I'm male now. Keep it real on my line, never change now. Straight strap like a rubber catching bodies now. We gon' leave your body where you at now. We gon' leave your body where you at now. Fuck nigga, you don't want no beef now. All my niggas pull the trigger for fun now. Tryna get my money for the fame now. If you ain't balling me, bro, that's a shame now. Yeah.
I'm flexing from Africa, LIB takeover, haters can't get enough. I'm spitting that fire like Dragon Ball, haters so good, now she can't get enough. My money keep claiming up. I said my money keep claiming up. Everywhere I go, haters know what's up. I be getting money all day, I feel a little crazy. Man, I be smoking blunt every day, smoking all night, cannabis. Young nigga, you know who be at. I be smoking every day like, woo. Get it? Woo.
Yeah. I'm a young man nigga from E-Town. I'll do your girl nigga real quick. I keep those mills on the block now. Just pay my bills for the clock now. Give a fuck about truth cause we are now. I'm out here getting cake. No, we don't fuck with fake. So high, I'm on the cloud. You can tell I spoke so loud. They told me I can't rap, but I put these niggas in trap. Woo.
Yeah.
Thanks.
finally ready now. So we are about to showcase the Zulu necklace. Just a reminder, guys, there is kebab for $3. Kebab for $3.
Very nice.
have a beautiful lady. She's going to do a portrait. Her name is Marjan. Can we please ask Marjan to come on stage?
Thank you. I am a spoken word poet. My name is Majeen Mathrin, and I will be doing a spoken word piece for you guys. Does anybody know what spoken word poetry is? Put your hand up if you know. So if you guys know that if you guys like a line, you finger snap? Yes? All right, so I'm gonna start this piece. And it's about Nelson Mandela, and I hope you enjoy it. Madiba, whose blood streams from motherland, saw his mama Africa in the midst of her contractions. So he sought to alleviate her pain by birthing a legacy important enough to be fossilized, rocking the world like the cradle of humankind. These are the 10 lessons Nelson Mandela taught me. 1, believe in the seed that birthed you. It may have been recklessly dropped by the whiplashes of your family tree, condemning you to the ground, but its roots will continue to plant itself into purpose, but only if you allow it to breathe.